Previously on CSIS 2470.
And we'll open up the console, refresh it again, and now I'm going to close the console, and you can see that it resized everything, it redrew all the stars, it redid everything. And this is the behavior I want. So if I change this, I shrink it. Now this is our new playing size, right? And if I grow it, this is our new playing size, and the stars are spread everywhere. And see, there's 2 in the box there. If I shrink it down, you'll see that it's been redrawn with different sizes in the box, okay? So now we have all the functionality as far as the layout and the way the page looks. Now let's make the game actually play. So let's move the ship with the arrow keys. We've done this plenty of times. So to keep our code clean, I'm going to create the event handler inside the setup function here. We'll just do it maybe, we can do it right at the top here. Why not? So window dot add event listener. We'll do key down, and then we'll call a function called navigate. All right, so there we go. And we'll just stick that maybe right here. Function navigate. And we're going to capture the event parameter. And you'll recall, going back to the event handler lectures, we can capture the code that's passed into the event. And we did talk about events a little bit in some of the previous Canvas lectures as well. But of course, we covered it in depth earlier in the semester when we talked about event handlers. We had a few lectures on that. So we're just going to do a simple switch statement on the code from the event. All right. And before we do that, let me just remind you, we'll just say console.log e. So let's open up the console here, and we'll refresh. And I'm going to hit the up arrow, and you can see that there's the keyboard event. I just consoled out the actual event that happened right there. And if I expand that, that's the first one. That second one was when I hit the Alt-Tab key to switch over back to my code. But this one right here was the first one I pushed. And these are all the things here, right? So this is the event. If I uncollapse it, then what you're looking at here, that whole thing is the E, right? So I'm saying E dot code, which is arrow up, or arrow down, or arrow left, or whatever. So that's what we're going to be checking things on in our switch statement. So simple enough. Case arrow up, and we'll put a break there, and we'll do arrow down, arrow left, and arrow right. Okay. Well, what do we want to do with arrow up, down, left, and right? Well, for arrow up, I want to change the Y position of the ship by subtracting its current value. And how much do I want to subtract from? I can do whatever. I can subtract 10 from it or whatever. I just want to subtract some value so that it moves upward, right? Well, we have a value already, which is right here, the speed. That's what we built those for. So in this particular case, we're just going to say ship.y minus equals ship.y speed, right? We're going to do the similar thing with the down, except it's going to be plus equals. And then we're going to do the same kind of thing here for the arrow left, but it's going to be ship x minus x speed. Remember, if you're going left, you're working your way towards 0. And if you're going up, you're working your way towards 0. And then if you're going to the right or down, you're working your way towards the height or width of the screen. So x plus right there. Let's see what that does. I can use the arrow keys now, and look at that. My ship's cruising along, right? Now, we're not going to deal with rotating and everything like that. We're just going to keep it to where the ship moves sideways, right? Okay. And now the ship's really far away because it's behind those stars, right? All right. So there we go. We got a moving ship. Now, if you wanted to put the ship on top, of course, you can move the stars display right there on line 35. Moved it from 37 up to 35. Now when I refresh, it's going on top of the stars, right? Because it's the order we drew them in. Okay. And I want the ship to be on top of the rectangle, not behind it. So we can build the home base second, and we'll cruise in there. And now it's on top. Okay. The final thing we got to do is once I'm inside of there, in the game, right? So how the heck do we do that? Well, right here, we can just simply ask the question, is home, or something like that, right? If is home, then we can say end game, right? So is home is a function we're about to write that will return a true or false. And it's going to be some sort of collision detection. Then end game will turn off the event handlers and that kind of thing. Okay, so let's take a look. Function is home, Let's start off by just returning true, no matter what. So what that means is I'm going to hit my arrow key one time, and then the game will be over. Okay. Well, let's look at what endgame's going to do. Function end, and we'll just for the moment say console.log over. Okay. So if I refresh it, I'm going to hit my arrow key once. Watch the console on the right. As soon as I hit my arrow key, it said the game is over. Why? Because when I hit my arrow key, this function ran, and I hit my up arrow, so it moved the ship up by 10, and then it asked, is it home? Well, my home function just says yeah, even though it's not, right? We'll make it be real in a minute. But since that returned true, then it said end the game, okay? So let's continue here. Let's go ahead and remove the event listener, right? So we will say window.remove event listener, and we're removing the down, and it's calling the navigate function. So right now I can still move, right? Even though it's game over. I'm going to refresh, and I'm going to move once, and it says game over, but I'm hitting the keys and I can't move anymore. Okay, which is what we want. The other thing, if you recall in the demo, hitting the escape key resets it, right? Okay, what do we want to do to reset it? Well, we could just call the setup function, right, which just starts everything over. We could do that. Okay, so let's do that. If we're going to do that, though, we need to add an event listener that can listen for the escape key. Okay, so let's quickly add an event listener here called window add event listener, and it's also going to be a key down. It's going to call a different function, call, I don't know, replay, something like that. Pretty straightforward. And here's the replay function, function replay. We'll take in the event, and if the event code is equal to the escape key, sorry, we need a double equal there. If it's equal to that, then we're going to do two things. We're going to call the setup function, but before we do that, I want to remove the replay event listener. So I just want to remove this because we're starting over, and I don't want them to be able to hit escape in the middle of the game. So we just remove. Okay, so again, the game's going to end with one push of the button, right? We're not quite there yet. But we refresh, and I hit the up arrow, it locks, none of the keys work. But if I hit escape, you can see that the game reset. Okay, so that's the basic idea. Now, let's make this home function do something useful. We basically need to do a type of collision detection, right? We spent quite a bit of time in the previous lecture going over collision detection where we're talking about objects bumping into each other. This is a little bit different. So I'm going to use this PowerPoint thing here to kind of walk through it. Now, what I've done is taken the ship and I've put a border on it because I want to make sure you understand that that is the way it will interact, as if this blank white part here, if it interacts with something, that will be considered a collision, even though it's not actually touching the green part of the ship. So I have the border there just so you can see it. Again, there's ways around that, but the math is crazy. We're not going to mess with it. So previously, what we were looking for is, as long as, say, the left of the ship was to the right of this right side, or the top of the ship was below the bottom of the box, or the bottom of the ship was above the top of the box, or the right side of the ship was to the left of the box, then we were not colliding, right? And the moment we got anywhere there, one of those conditions was no longer true, and therefore we're colliding. Well, we don't want to show that as a collision. It is a collision detection of sorts, but we want that to be the quote collision, right? And so what we have to do is make a statement that says the following: if the left side of the ship is to the right of the left side of the rectangle, and the right side of the ship is to the left side of the right side of the triangle, right? We following that? And the top of the ship is below the top of the rectangle, and the bottom of the ship is above the bottom of the rectangle. All four of those have to be true to be considered that we're safe. So let's start baby steps. Let's start left of the ship is greater than the right of the rectangle. So if we say if ship.x, right, that is this line right here, right, that's the x position is the same all the way down there. Whatever it is, it's the same all the way down, okay? So if the x is greater than the x position of the rectangle, so dot x, You recall up here, we have this X position right here. At the moment, it's 100. So if the left side of the ship is to the right of the left side of the rectangle, we're going to return true. Let's just start there, right? And otherwise we'll return false. Okay, so when we come here, this is not going to be perfect. The game is already over, and the reason for it being already over is because the left part of the ship is to the right of the left side of the rectangle. So I'm going to move that rectangle over by changing the position here to like 900. A little more. Okay, so now I can move the ship. The moment it gets to the left, and it just stopped. It won't let me go any further because the left side of the ship is to the right of the left side of the box. Now, obviously, that's not everything, right? That's just one of the 4 conditions we need. Because the way it is right now, it'll stop up here, it'll stop here, it'll stop way over here, as long as it's to the left of this. The only thing that won't stop it is if it's over here, right? Okay, so that's the first one. Let's do the second one here. Go back to this is home business. That has to be true. And we're going to say now that the top of the ship is below the top of the rectangle. Well, whatever position this is, which I believe is 100, this is the Y position right here. And it's the same. Unless I move it, now the Y position for the rectangle is getting bigger. But we're just going to leave it there, which is 100 in the code. So this Y position on the ship has to be greater than 100, right? The top of that is the Y position, okay? Ship.Y is greater than home.Y. Well, now if I refresh it, it is greater than Y, but the only time it'll lock up is if it's also to the right side of this. So if I move over here, it locked right there because it is below this and to the left of that. So we're not quite there. Now the next piece of it, let's make sure that it's above this bottom line. This is where it gets a little bit trickier. Because if I were to say, as long as the Y position of the ship is above this position here, well, then technically that means I'm home, right? You know, move it up just a teeny bit. That would mean I'm home. Well, that's not quite it. I need to be here to be considered home. The Y position of the ship needs to be the height of the ship above the bottom of the rectangle, right? So in other words, we need to say, and ship.Y must be less than, remember, as you move upward, you're going towards 0. So it needs to be less than whatever that is. Well, what is that? Well, it's the rectangle's Y plus the height of the rectangle, right? So it needs to be less than home.Y plus home.height. But that's not enough, right? That gives us what I was saying a minute ago. If I refresh it, you'll see here, if I go up, as soon as I touch it, it's going to stop right there. Because the Y position at the top of the ship is now above, barely by like 1 pixel or whatever, but it is above the bottom of the rectangle. So I need to go whatever this adds up to minus the height of the ship, right? So we go back to the PowerPoint here. Right now we're there. Well, because the height is, I think, 200. If we look in our code, I believe it's 200. So the Y starts at 100 and it goes down 200. So this position is 300, this bottom of the rectangle. Well, if I say that my Y position hits 300, we're dead right there, or we're home right there, but that's not what we want. I want it to hit 300 minus 80, which is 220, right? Or minus 90, whatever the height of my ship is. So we just subtract plus 200, which is 300, which is this position right here, minus the height of the ship, which is 90, which is right here. And so now when the Y position of the ship is less than 210, then we're good to go. So let's now refresh it. We come over here, we're good. And as soon as I get inside all the way, it should stop, and it does. It won't let me move. Now, if I reset it, I'm going to move to the right of the box. We're not quite done yet. If I come up here, you can see it also lets me go even though I'm outside of the box. So we have to do the last piece of it here, which is this. So I need to set the X right here. I don't want to set it to here. I want to set it to be here. Okay, so I want the X of the ship to be less than right about, right about there, right? Well, what is that position right there? Well, It's whatever that is plus the width minus the width of the ship, right? If I were to say this position, so that's rectangle's X position, so home.x, plus the width, right? And if you'll recall, right now, the X position is 1200, right? And the width is 300. So this position here is 1500. Well, if I said I want the X position of the rectangle of the ship to be 1500, well, that's going to stop right there. I need it to be 1500 minus the width of the ship, which is 87. Okay, so with all that in mind, last piece here is home. We'll throw in one more and statement. We're going to say, and the ship.x is less than, because remember, we're moving to the left. That means we get closer to 0. It's going to be less than home.x plus the width of the home. And let's stop there, right? And it's not complete, but you'll see if I come over here, I cruise up here, when I get to the edge, it stops right there, right? Because I told it to stop at essentially 1500, right? The X position plus the W. Well, I need to subtract whatever that is. I need to go backwards, however wide the ship is. That should do it. So now if I come up, I'll get right next to it here, come up, I'll go around it, no problems, and I'll go, let's go in from the side here. It locked right there, refresh it, and go in from the bottom and refresh it. Oh, I just hit escape, I guess. We'll go to the top and we're in, and we'll go to the right. And you can see, there you go, okay? So that's the basic functionality of it. Now, the last thing, we want to make that rectangle in a random position. Well, the nice thing about that is whatever the values of the rectangle are won't matter because we're not doing any hard coding here. So if we just change the home values to be random, it'll still all work. I want to just change one other thing here though. This is home function. If we just simply return this big long statement rather than doing this, that will give us what we want, right? So I'm just saying return that, okay? So let's just do a quick test of that one more time here, refresh, and I'll just cruise up and just see if he goes in there without a problem, and he does, okay. So the last thing, we want to actually put text on the screen that says, you're safe now, press escape to start over or whatever, right? Okay, well, let's do that. In the end game, rather than saying console.log, let's actually make some text. Well, you can actually do text. We've done it already. And we'll go with brush.font equals, we'll do like 100 pixels chiller. And we'll say brush.fill text. And it is accomplished. And we want it to be at 100, right? Whatever. We'll position it better in a minute. Let's just start there, okay? So if I refresh, cruise along up here, mission accomplished. Now, why didn't it display it? Because the end game function is not being displayed in the draw function, right? So let's go to the draw function. Where are you, draw? Right here. So we could just move this function here. Let's just put it in here. No reason to really have it inside of the navigation. So let's refresh, cruise, and here we go. Mission accomplished. Okay, and everything did lock up. All right, well, let's center that text. Okay, well, how do we do that? That's a little bit trickier than you might think. Just like we did before by centering the ship at the bottom of the page, where we had to split it in half and do all that math, we need to do the same thing with the text, okay? And don't worry, I haven't forgotten about making the random rectangle. That's really easy. We're just going to change a couple of values. For now, I want to get this mission accomplished thing done here, right? So, how do we do this? Well, if we look at the end game here, this number right here, 100 by 100, well, we could start by saying that we want it to be halfway down the screen, which is world.height divided by 2, right? Let's just start there. Now I'm going to increase the speed of the ship here by a lot so that we can get in there like really fast. Refresh, and we'll cruise over here. Whoa, too fast. There we go. Mission accomplished. So I think I did the wrong one there. Where is our text? Yeah, the first parameter here is actually the width. And so let's make the X position 100 and the Y position, of course, is world.height divided by 2. Okay, let's do that again. Refresh. And this will put it in the center of the page vertically, right? Now notice it's not quite centered, right? Because we have to cut the text in the middle and figure out that. I don't know of an easy way to do that. So what I've been doing to make it work is just kind of find the center and then add like 100 or something like that. So we'll just clear that up here, cruise up, and that maybe is too much, right? So we could tweak that number. I'll just do 50 and leave it. Whether it's good or not won't matter. But it's this one right here, world.width divided by 2. Now, if we do that, it's going to put the corner here at the center of the page, right? So I'll refresh it, cruise up in there, and that is the center, right? Where that M starts is the center of the page. Well, I need to find out how long that text is and then divide it in half and move over that far from the center, just like we did with the ship, okay? How do you do that? Well, there's another property you can do here, and I'm going to turn this into a variable, make it a little bit easier. We're going to call this message, okay? We'll call it message1, and you'll see why in a minute. And message1 equal that, okay? In our brush, there is a function called measure text. And if I pass it in the message and ask for the width, it will actually give me the width. So I'm going to make a variable here called let, we'll say width1 equal that. So this value right here will be whatever the width that is. Well, if I divide that by 2 and then subtract it from this, that'll scooch it over and center it, right? So let's just imagine the page is 1,000. Okay, let's just go back to our PowerPoint here and play around. Let's just imagine this page is 1,000. Okay, and I'm going to make a little text box here. Mission accomplished. Okay, so this rectangle now no longer represents the home base. It represents the entire web page. So imagine that this is 1,000. Well, what's the center? It's 500. So the center is somewhere right about here, right? So at the moment we're saying at the center, start printing that text. Well, whatever that position is, that's a 500 because it's half the size of the page if the page is 1,000. If this text is 100, I want to move over from the center 50 to the left because that'll put 50 of it to the left of the center and 50 of it to the right of the center, right? And I'll put it right there in the center. So we have the width, whatever it's going to be, I don't know, W1. So minus W1 divided by 2. And now if we refresh it and we cruise up in there, that put it right in the center, okay? Mission accomplished, right in the center. Of course, the escape key starts it over. And I want to also put a message there that says press the escape key to start over. So we're going to make a message 2 here, and we'll say press escape to start over. All right. And I'm going to make the W width the 2 there, width 2, like that. And then I can make a fill text with message 2. Now, if I leave it this way, and of course we'll divide by the width of the escape message there, which is slightly wider. The only issue is they're going to be stacked right on top of each other as far as the height goes, right? So let's just refresh it and we'll get inside to be safe. And you can see they're right on top of each other, right? So I can just push this world height down. Maybe I'll leave this height for the first message alone. In fact, maybe I'll even go minus 50 and I'll add 50 here. And that will give them a little bit of separation. So let's try it again. And there you go. That's pretty good right there. So that's almost the entire game. The last thing we got to do is make that rectangle in a random place. That's really easy to do.
Super easy. Barely an inconvenience.
And here's how we do it. If you recall, we have this home thing right here. Well, right now we have X and Y set up as hard-coded numbers, right? Well, the width of it, we're not going to make that random, and we're not going to make the height random. It's always going to be 3 by 2. All we need to do is set those to a random value using our little range technique we have down here. This thing right here, okay? I'm just going to copy that, and maybe we're going to want to give ourselves room to work. I guess we need to do it. Okay, so for X, we're going to give it a random, and for Y, we're going to give it a random. That's it. I mean, it's that simple. Now we just have to put in some values, right? Well, do we have any limitations? We can put it all the way to the top. So the minimum for Y can be 0, right? And the minimum for X can be all the way to the left. I'm okay with that. Don't need those semicolons. That's going to mess us up. The question is, what's the max? Well, we can't make the X position the width of the page because then the rectangle will be off the page. So we need to make sure that the farthest to the right that the X position can be is the width of the page minus the width of the rectangle, which you know what that means. That means we're going to have to move it out like we did down here. Okay, so I'm going to copy these so I don't lose them. And we're going to go back to undefined here, just like we did in the ship, like this. Okay, and then as soon as we create the home, we're going to say home.x equals that, and home.y is equal to that. The semicolons there. Okay, and so let's go through what we were just saying a second ago. Because we're going to have to be using this W here, we can't do it inside the object, so we have to do it outside. So that's fine. We're saying now that the maximum here is the width of the page, or the width of the world, which again, let's imagine it's 1000. But remember that the X position is the top left corner of the rectangle. That's our home base. This white section here is the web page. If I were to say position the X position of the rectangle to the full width of the screen, or even not quite the full width, I could have a situation like that. So I need to make sure that the maximum position that that corner could be is right there, right? And so how do we do that? Well, we say the world.width, the home.w, however wide the rectangle is, right? So that's our maximum right there. Okay, and because again we're adding and subtracting zeros, we can just kill all of that. Don't need these extra parentheses here. I guess we just need right there. Okay, and then the last one here for the Y, we have a similar situation. Now remember, the ship is at the bottom of the page, right? So we don't want the rectangle to appear right there. So we want to say that the Y position, which is here, has to be the height of the page minus the height of the ship minus the height of the rectangle. Because if I said the height of the ship, then the box could appear like that. But if I said the height of the rectangle, then the box could appear like that. If I say the ship and the rectangle, then the worst case scenario will be right there. The maximum here is world.height minus ship.height minus home.height. And again, we have all these extra things going on here that we don't need. The zeros. And I think that should be good right there. Okay, so let's test it out. We'll open up our console in case we have any errors. Console, refresh. And of course we got a reading H. Where is that? Oh, of course, yeah, I'm trying to read the ship here when I haven't created the ship yet. So let's create home after we create ship. Just do it down here. It's fine. Try that again. Refresh. Okay, there's a random spot. It's different from before. Random. Notice it didn't get into the ship down there. And now let's just put it in a random spot. And look at that. That's as close as it can ever get. And I'm home free, right? Now, if we want, we can add a little buffer to that if we wanted to. Maybe we could say, you know, another 300. So to keep it away from the ship at the bottom there. And so we'll refresh it. And now it can never get anywhere near the ship, right? So let's get in there one more time, give it a test, and mission accomplished. And I don't care that it's overriding that, right? I think that's just fine, doesn't really matter. Because it's going to be in a random position, we'd have to do a lot of math and calculation to move the message around and avoid the collision like that. So for the purposes of teaching this, that's all I care about, is that we got the text on there and we are home. So the main reason, I mean, this is a really long program for just showing you how to draw an image. I mean, the real purpose of this right here is to show you how to draw an image. And we did that in one little thing right there. That's it. How you draw an image? You put the image element right there. It's document.querySelector is how we got a hold of it. And then you put the X and Y position where you want it. That's it. The rest of it is a lot of interesting math that is useful to know how to do when you're positioning things in Canvas. And then we did some more collision detection, which is a very common thing. We did some event listeners, which are important again. And so all this stuff comes together to show you how fun it can be to write code in Canvas. That's it for this one, folks. Thanks again for coming to class. Take a look at the screen there. And as always, if you can answer those questions, you're ready to take the quiz. And most importantly, you learned what you needed to learn from this video. See you next time.